a drop stitch. And it just so happens that that stitch is right here. Pick up the drop stitch. And this is just an easy rudimentary way to fix it. Take the same needle, come in, this is the stitch that it was on, that's above it. And this is a stitch, and that's a stitch. And then it gets kind of a little all over the place here. There's a stitch, there's a stitch. What we're gonna do is take this stitch that's on the needle and move it and get it all the way back up here to the working needle. So again, here's your drop stitch. Put your needle through it, pick up the stitch above it, and simple as pinch the stitch that fell and bring it over that stitch that was above, if that makes sense. So now we've caught that stitch. The next stitch, same thing, pick up that stitch and bring it over. Now, not all projects will be this simple because these are bigger needles. Smaller needles, it's the same idea. You can either use a crochet hook, you can use your fingers, another knitting needle, and you just have to find your way up. Keep going up, one row after another, one row at a time. And then there, and so it's a very basic way to solve a problem if you're a new knitter. If you're a more advanced knitter, there are the same idea, but we might be a bit more delicate about it. And then what you're going to see me do here, I'm going to take this stitch off, slip this stitch, slip this stitch, slip that stitch off and then slip this stitch off, and then squeeze that stitch in right there. And here, put it back on. I'm actually using my son's knitting. He just started to knit again, which is awesome. He's only been knitting since yesterday. And there you go. Now, if you're a new knitter, what you want to remember, you're not going to have pristine, store-bought quality knitting. What you want to do is just keep knitting and knitting and knitting. And as you notice here, the gauge changes as you become comfortable. And here it's starting to get a little tighter, which is what you want. You want your stitches to hug the needle, but not strangle the needle. And once you become very good at what you're doing, and it's all about just knitting, just keep knitting, the gauge will tighten up and you'll start to have this. The difference though is this is a size, I think a size 12 needle, and this is a size 8 needle. They're both the same type of yarn, they're both worsted weight. But understand, as a new knitter, your work is not going to be pristine. You just want to knit. Okay, happy knitting. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.